Hello, and welcome to episode 1 of a little series that I'm putting together documenting the process and creation, implementation of that cool 3D animated pixel art tower that I created for Insignia for chapter 1. Many of you have been asking for some sort of like how-to or tutorial on how I put this together. So this is basically going to be an edited down series of clips from streams where I was working on it. And the first one, this episode, is going to be basically the inception of the idea and animation tests leading up to it, initial concept exploration and feasibility tests, basically, just figuring out like, is this doable? And then the following episode or episodes are going to be documenting the process of creating it. So more of animation and then rigging up into Unity and how that works. So stay tuned, enjoy this episode. If you want to find out more about what I'm working on, join us on Discord or catch me on Twitch. I stream weekdays, every weekday for 5 hours a day. You can catch more details below, and I'll see you there. Right, I'll do that then. I actually don't have a door here either, and I don't have a second story. That's like a whole other thing. So if we go into the watchtower, I need to make some sort of going upstairs thing. So we either make a 3D animation of Armin running upstairs, or we make an animation of him like starting up the stairs, like just like turning and like running, and like a generic turning and walking away in 3D, and then the scene fades to black. And then we can use that whenever Armin goes through a 3D thing. Or we just fade to black and that's it. The only other thing is that I have like this idea that you'll be able to walk up the tower. So how am I going to do that? Do I do the like ghosts and goblins? It's ghosts and ghouls, right? See this? Like this. See how like what happens is you walk, you stay stationary, but the tower moves around you in 3D. So maybe we do something like this, but for the interior. So as Armin's just running horizontally, but the tower is like winding up around him. I think we could do that. That sounds like way too much work, but I think it would be actually okay. You only have to do one fraction, and then you just repeat that over and over again. Either that, or I don't make you walk up the 3D stairs. You walk up something else. So the tower just stays 2D, and you just jump around up in 2D. The question is, the design question is, can I pull off a 3D rotating tower or not? I want to determine that before I do any of the graphics or any of the anything, right? And sometimes that depends on whether or not I can, in this case, I think whether or not this looks good as a still is important. But the next thing we would test is, okay, what happens when I start spinning this? I could do this a couple of different ways, right? I could do this as, let's use blue. Are you a pirate? No. So I could do like a bunch of like, just platforms, and you just jump like this, and it's 2D and it doesn't move. I'm not against doing this. Or I could have like this going up into this, and Armin would be running on like this, right? And the whole scene would rotate around Armin, right? As in the pixel art would change. So like all of these would spiral as we go up. We stay in the same place, right? We just stay here, and it rotates around, and we just keep going until, like, I guess like we have like a thing that's above here that's spinning, like a palette, and as the palette meets us, that's when we transition the scene, I guess. So as we're running up, we get to here, and then it fades. Now, I am drawn towards the 3D thing because I think having that be, you want to animate the rotation by hand? Yes, I would animate the rotation by hand. If you're animating something like this, so now we're going to do like an animation test, right? So back to like talking about our productivity, I'm going to do concept approval. So it's something that's sort of like lives sort of like above these two things. Rotation versus platform. We'll call those the two concepts. We have to validate one of these first. And I can do an animation test independently of everything else. Right? I have a pretty good understanding, and the more experience you get, the better you will get at picking apart this stuff. It's like if I'm here thinking about, I've got to do this watchtower. In your head, if you've got experience, you can go, okay, well, I've done buildings before, so that's fine. I have these two concepts. I've never done the rotation thing before, so that's a bit of a question mark, but the flat version, that's fine. Gameplay, I generally know how big Armin is, so I know about what would work as far as how big he needs space-wise. Like, I'm not going to accidentally make it like half the size it needs to be. The colors, I've got a palette, so that's fine. 2 years into game dev for this game, I'm confident in a lot of this stuff before I even do any tests. Most of the time, if you're working on a very simple game, or you've got a lot of experience, you can do those things in your head. You don't really need to do too much work. But the more complicated your project is, and the less experience you have relative to that project, the more helpful it is to actually map these things out first and tread very carefully to avoid wasting time. So let's do a really quick animation test. Okay, so this is what's going to happen. What I'm going to do is create a background very quickly. I'm going to give this let's just give ourselves a budget. So feasibility is also important. Like, how long do I have to animate this thing? Do I give myself 8 frames of animation? I think I could do it in probably 8 frames. Oh, actually, this might be difficult. So here's the thing. If this is let's say we have a circle. We're animating a circle, right? If I was gonna animate this, right? All I need to do is animate one circle becoming the next, right? So it's really just, it's sort of like these. Have you guys seen these things? A zoetrope. This is exactly the same thing. For us, the question is, how many frames does it take us to take this and turn it into this? Which is the same amount of frames it'll take to turn this into this, turn this into this, and just by definition, we'll have animated the entire thing, right? So I'm gonna take this one. I'm gonna turn this into just like a flat background thing just for you guys. And then I'm gonna animate the same animation, like the same few frames, but I'm gonna layer them. So I'll animate this, moving to this, moving to this, moving to getting a bit bigger, a little bit bigger, and then it's here, right? I did that in 6 frames, so I don't need any more, right? You can see this coming, you can see this taking shape, right? So now I go back to my first frame. Here it is. I'm taking this. That's right, with only a few frames, you animate the whole thing forever. So this turns into this, turns into this, turns into this, turns into this, turns into this. Okay. So you can see it's looping. You can follow one of them all the way across. I'll just finish it because I can. This will be a good YouTube video one day. It's very rough, mind you. If I'd used the onion skinning, it would have been a bit easier. Okay. And there you go. Spinning forever. We kind of don't even need this 6th frame. Let's just delete that. 5 frames. In 5 frames, we animated, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things spinning around. Show that to your nan. This is the question, right? The question is about symmetry. In this situation, we have rotational symmetry. So we can like place a pin here and spin the whole thing about the pin, right? That's fine, that works, that'll loop forever. Now, the situation we're in with the watchtower is slightly different because there's three axes that we need to worry about actually. There's the rotation, which is fine. If it didn't have any windows, it would be literally just animate one brick to the next brick. But we've got the lights, right? So what we need to animate is one light moving down into the next light. That's actually what it is, right? But it's not even, it goes even further than that. For the effect to maintain, it has to be symmetrical at every division, right? So if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 divisions, it has to be symmetrical on each of those. Like imagine now, if I add the lights into this little model, as I spin this, I have to animate this down to that, this down to that, and actually probably have to animate this down to that and something above here. 1. And what's really important is to, like, there's the actual base and then there's the length. So what you could do is just do one pass where you just animate the point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then now you know that the bottom's going to be smooth. So now we can just animate this up. This probably should have been more like stretched on the outsides and like wrapped. That's why I guess I'm doing it in low fidelity so that we don't have to worry about that right now. But we've got this backwards, but we animated it all backwards. You could just imagine it's not doing that. Like a really good way to, if we wanted to do this really smart, the next time we'll do it, we'll use guides. So we'll do this next time. Go like this, ready? That way we'll get that really nice 3D perspective wrapping. There's a scene between Harry and Cho Chang in Harry Potter that I remember being, or is it Harry and Luna? There's a shot. There we go. You want to be even with the subjects. The camera's looking up quite a lot here. It's going to have to be at the beginning of this shot. Okay. So, this is what we're trying to do. Right? There is something about how this goes like this. Right? That's what we want to do eventually. For anyone watching. And you can see how this all kind of goes like this and comes close to the middle and then starts going back out. That's how the perspective works on this tower. You would imagine that's the tower. Yeah, like I said, we wanted to make this fewer. So what I need to do is actually double the amount of frames, because what we're going to do is we're going to isolate out these steps. Let's say one of these. That's what we want. So in order to do this, we need double the amount of frames. It works. You need fewer frames when there are more instances of the thing that repeats. So in this case, if we wanted to animate one thing rotating all the way around, right? We need to animate it every frame all the way around. But every time you double that, so if there are 2 things, now you need to only animate halfway. In this case, we have 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 things here. Right? So you only need to animate 1/8 of the amount of frames. So I think this should be okay. So, did you like the video? Thank you so much for watching. I wanted to say a really considerate and heartfelt thank you to the patrons of the stream and of my YouTube channel. Thank you to Joe Constant, to Jacob, Gerald, Jim Kulwicki, to Raimu, to Robin Fritz, Alex, Jaded Cat, and Jared Barboza. You guys help this train keep going, so thank you mostly. For those of you who want to join that list of J names, there's like, what, 2, 3 names that don't start with J in that list. If you want to offset the balance and restore peace to the world, join me on Patreon. Become a patron. Otherwise, come to Twitch and subscribe. Links for that are all below. Have a lovely day, and I'll catch you on the next video.